The At Home Show.
April 17th, 2021. Joshua M. Cary is last seen leaving Bates Nursery and Garden Center. He turns right to go what he believes is just over a mile to Briley Parkway when he vanishes into thin air, never to be seen again. What's that? Oh, not to be seen physically again. Wait. What now? Not to be seen in person for 2 weeks to discuss heavy metal home improvement. Join us as he will a little later on for Solved and at his daughter's college graduation. So it's not much of an unsolved mystery after all. Sorry for the dramatics. Live from the Green Room Studios from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
All right, welcome in everyone. You have tuned in to the At Home Show right here live from the Green Room at Bates Nursery. I am David Bates, and as you have already heard, Josh Cary is not here today. However, we are capably co-hosted today by Brent Grunfeld of Monrovia. Welcome, Brent.
Well, thank you for having me.
Not capably, probably better.
Well, I don't
Well, I mean, I'm trying to, spare Josh's
Oh, I'm not.
tender feelings. I know. Well, this is Michael Stevenson over here producing the audio. If you like the audio quality, make sure you tell Michael. If you don't like it, well, tell Tyler because he's over here. Tyler does our video productions. Good morning, Tyler. Welcome
Good morning.
in. And
Good morning, everyone.
Tyler Blankenship capably running the video portion of the program, and we've got a lot of things planned for today. Some of them may actually happen. Is our intent today to talk about Monrovia plants, and that microphone is loud over there, Tyler. I don't know if you
Took care of that business right now. That's
you're
done.
rumbling over there. Anyway, so welcome to the show, Brent, and we're glad to have you on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Talking about Monrovia plants, and why don't you just give us a little quick history of Monrovia, and all the way back to 1926, I believe, was the year that it was founded.
1926 is when we were founded in California, in Monrovia, California. So
hence the name. Now, they haven't been in Monrovia, California for a long time.
I'm not sure exactly how long, but you're right, a long time. So we have nurseries at four corners of the country.
If they had been founded in San Luis Obispo, it would have been a much longer name.
Well, absolutely. A little harder to say.
A little harder to say,
Yes,
too.
absolutely. So we have four nurseries in four corners of the country: Oregon, California, Connecticut, and Georgia. We are one of the first nurseries in the nation to offer plants in cans. And, people think plants are heavy now. 50 years ago plus, they were in metal cans. And you had to have a special tool.
The can cutter, because they were what we were referred to at the time as egg cans, in that there were these 5-gallon straight-sided cans, steel cans, that literally had eggs where they had been taken out of the shell. They were full of eggs with a snap-on lid. Now, the lids were tossed, but you used a big hole punch. You put a hole like about that big, on the bottom of them, and then you had to have a big can cutter to make 2 slits down the side. And once you learned the little trick, you could just push it straight down. All you had to worry about at that point was tetanus, because you were about to get ripped. So, yes.
So what you're telling me is you've been in the nursery business for a while.
Couple days,
Yeah, okay.
Couple days. Yeah.
I'm a little younger than you, and I didn't have the pleasure of dealing with those metal cans.
Well, they were real.
Yeah, they were real. So yeah, we're shipping plants all around the country to independent garden centers, and we really enjoy working with the independent garden centers to get high quality, innovative plants to the consumer. And Monrovia is responsible for a lot of the plants that people know on the market. We have a lot of our own genetics that we work with breeders around the world to come up with fantastic plants. new and interesting stuff.
And I think it's easy to say and safe to say that nobody does it with the amount of variety and flair as does Monrovia. There's a lot of great things, and we'll be talking about a lot of them during the course of the show here this morning. We invite you to pick up your phone. You could either text us or you can leave us an email, 615-499-6690. That's the number where you can reach out there and get a hold of us. As a matter of fact, you can leave a question anytime during the week, and we'll pick it up on Saturdays, and Michael mans the phone over there, and he's got
that phone.
He's got that fully under control right there. So 615-499-6690. We've got everything Monrovia today, and I will go ahead and just do this before we go further. In the event that Josh does not show up today, virtually, I want to make sure that we do get a picture of his lovely daughter here on screen. Erin, this is her graduation day, so congratulations.
Is she the one that was it nursing or being a veterinarian?
Well, she's not the veterinarian, so she's,
I guess, a nurse.
A nurse. So anyway, but a wonderful young lady, and Josh and I have been doing the program so long together that she was not even alive when we first started broadcasting together. So congratulations. She grew up with the show. Yes, she did, despite the fact that Josh or I, neither one did. So I'm going to take a little detour over here. Let's talk about the weather before we go any further. It's always the first thing we want to try to get out of the way. And of course, today is Saturday, and as you see on the little graphic up there, rain is in the forecast, and we're going to have showers throughout the morning. Perhaps mostly the rain will wane by 11 a.m. That's what our prediction, our horticultural prediction for meteorology here in the green room. So should be mostly out of the way by late morning, and a few scattered showers in the afternoon. It's a possibility, particularly if you're south of town, that you could get a more severe thunderstorm. The further north you go, and of course Bates Nursery is located on the north side of downtown Nashville, it's decidedly less of a chance, and actually the rainfall amounts, they're showing like 0.4 of an inch right now, so it's not going to be that much rainfall. So just be mindful of that. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy to perhaps mostly sunny, 71 degrees, so the temperatures are going to rebound, and we're going to see sunshine tomorrow. Rain will be out of the way. If you get over into Monday, there's something about that seat.
I know.
That seat does. We got your audio there. So that's usually Josh's job, and I'm glad to know you're filling in capably.
I think I took care of it.
Okay. So
I feel honored that I could.
We got 80-degree temperatures hitting by Tuesday with 60 degrees overnight low. So we're starting to feel that real stride of springtime weather moving in upon us. Actually, all the way through Wednesday, we have 80-degree temperatures. Clouds will move back in on Wednesday, particularly in the afternoon. A few showers by the end of next week. Currently, it's 50 degrees here at the Green Room at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. So I do want to, while I've got this up here, I want to switch on over to Monrovia's website.
Yes, newly redesigned website, too.
And I don't think there's ever been a point where it hasn't been. I mean, websites that are worth going to typically are worked on a lot. And
yes,
Monrovia certainly has so much to work from. There looks like that's Ito Peony right there on the top there. Is that what that is?
It does appear to be an Ito.
And we'll be actually looking at some here live in the studio a bit later on. But one of the great things about Monrovia is that they do have the ability to shop online. You can have those plants shipped directly to us here at Bates Nursery.
Absolutely.
Now, the one good thing about shopping at Bates Nursery is that we already carry a really large selection of Monrovia plants, so you might just want to come out or search our website at batesnursery.com, and you can just come out and pick them up the next day. So this could be a couple of 3 weeks delay on if you order it through the Monrovia site, because depending on when trucks come in, and let's just cut straight to it. The hard-hitting information here that we need to talk about is logistics and what 2021 has brought to everyone, not just in the nursery industry or the green goods industry, the general lack of availability of transportation, and when you do get it, the certainty that it will cost more.
Oh, that is the truth. So yeah, transportation has been a real challenge for the whole economy. Actually, the economy is now starting to open up. There are businesses that were closed for years or for months are now coming.
Feels like years.
It does feel like years, but they're coming back online. So all this product needs to get to the restaurants, the retail stores. So you have an issue in the ports. Every port in the United States is filled with ships and containers coming into the United States, and there's not enough trucks because the trucking industry changed over the past few years. So there's less trucks on the road. There's all this freight that needs to be hauled from the ports and also from manufacturers within the country. And then we had a freeze throughout, from Texas all the way up through the middle of the country. And then FEMA decided to come in and get all those trucks to help get supplies into the freeze areas. And so that created an additional shortage. And I love my phone going off here, so thank you. I'm glad I can do that for you.
You're more adept at Josh's job than we even realized.
All right, fantastic. My wife tells me I'm a little noisy, so it's all good. So with the supply chain issues, getting product from point A to point B is a real challenge. It is costing everybody more to get the plants there.
And to be sure, the situation in Texas that occurred over the winter, where they essentially had a week where the earth came to a grinding halt, as they know it anyway, and they lost all manner of power and utility
and plants.
And so the already short supply of plants has gotten much shorter simply because the Texas market got devastated. Most of the growers there got huge damage, and consequently, you hear this big sucking sound. That's all the plants trying to be whisked away to Texas, and so it has been a challenge for the rest of us because much of the plant material that we use is what they use as well. And of course, Texas is a bit further south, so they have things that are of zone 8 and zone 9 where we don't typically use those other than annuals in this part of the country. That's regular landscape material for a lot of areas of Texas. And consequently, it's really created shortages. And unlike other industries where they manufacture things, plants are not manufactured. Now, Monrovia does as good a job of replicating that as can be done. They have automated things quite a lot, from transplanting the plants to trimming them and spacing them. However, they are still grown. They are not manufactured.
Growing plants is kind of like baking a cake. It takes time.
It does.
It just takes a lot more time.
It just takes a lot more time. And many of the things you see right here on the set today, particularly behind Brent and myself, Japanese maples or the Blue Point junipers, or even these rhododendron here. These PJMs, I didn't look to see.
That's Olga Mezet.
Oh, okay, Olga. So
She's
anyway,
beautiful.
But the point is that it takes years to grow these plants, and there has been of all the things that there have been high demand on, specimen plants has been especially hard hit, and that's the one area that takes the absolute longest to ever recover from.
Absolutely.
And that's not just at Monrovia, that's industry wide.
Yes.
So we are seem to be constantly looking. We're very fortunate. We have a wonderful relationship with Monrovia, and we've still got a lot of plant material to arrive that has yet to arrive. So we're going to have plants, but I would say that it's not the general rule that most others are going to be able to quite have the stream of plants that perhaps we're fortunate to have. It's a real challenge. It's a challenge for us, and we're well connected, but it's going to be a challenge no matter where you are in the horticultural chain.
Absolutely. So one thing that's real important is that knowing that prior planning has been happening. So from the buyers of the garden centers and Julie here at Bates, she does a fantastic job of
Absolutely.
constantly looking at availabilities and trying to source material and plan in the future. I kind of look at this spring as kind of like Costco, and the fact that you can go into Costco and 25% of their inventory it turns quickly. So if you see it, you need to buy it. In plants this year, if you are in the garden center, you like that, you have any inclination that you want that, don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait for a week down the road.
So I'll just come back. I'll just come back tomorrow. I have never. I've Brent mentioned at the top of the show. I've been doing this more than 50 years. Never ever have we seen it like it is right now. And if you are in a position where you see something that you want, this is not hyperbole, this is not hype, this is just the way that it is. If you see something that you want, it would be my recommendation to go ahead and get it. Because if you wait till tomorrow and you're thinking about it, there's a really good chance it won't be there. Right. Multiple times we've had nanosecond difference between interest in a plant and had the potential for conflict because people are so it's a very dicey situation in a lot of ways. And so I don't say all of that to create additional hype or hysteria. That's not the point at all. The point of it is that be flexible. If you've always used this certain color of New Guinea impatient and you're hoping that next week they'll come in, but you kind of like this other one, you might choose the one that you're okay with because there's no certainty on anything that's going to come in.
Did you guys, so last year we had, just huge sales. I remember you were closed, like, what was it, part of the week just to fulfill the online orders when all this started happening.
Right.
Did any of you expect this year to be even bigger than last year?
Not like it has been, not to the extent. And I think that it's the ripple effect where a lot of people have found gardening as something that they really like and enjoy. They had not really done gardening before.
Yeah, it's hip and cool now.
Yeah. So, and we're grateful for that. And we try to help people every way we can to make them informed gardeners so that they can make good decisions and have success. That's the bottom line. If you don't have success at it, you may give it up. And, gardening is something you can learn. I don't believe in the green thumb theory. I don't have, neither of my thumbs are green.
No.
But the thing of it is, if you can apply some basic principles to your gardening, and one of those is the
soil.
The soil. And why don't we just talk about that for a moment before we go out to our the Lowen report this morning, which we do have Austin Lowen standing by. So Austin. Let's talk about Earth Mix Garden Products for just a moment. And if you want to get the very best results out of your efforts in gardening, you got to start off with giving your plants something to grow in that they can really do well in. You don't want them to just hang on and live. You want them to really thrive and do their very best. And that's the approach that has been taken with Earth Mix Garden Products. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Earth Mix Garden or pre-prepared, ready-to-use mixes, or if you're talking about Supernatural, which is a organic compost. All the Earth Mix Garden products are all 100% sustainably produced and done so right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And you'll find them at independent garden centers all over Middle Tennessee. Go to the website, earthmix.net, and just click on this Find Earth Mix tab, and you're going to see that there are a plethora of places around, not just Middle Tennessee, but also in Kentucky. See if my map works this week. For whatever reason, it was not functioning last week, and it is cooperating this week. So you see there's a lot all around, even up into Indiana and Ohio and all across Tennessee. And you're wanting to get the best out of gardening, success in gardening begins at the ground level when you use Earth Mix Garden products, and we appreciate you giving us a moment to talk about that. So, without further ado, why don't we get to the hard-hitting segment of our program, the Lowen Report.
It's time for the Lowen Report with Austin Lowen.
You can talk now, Austin.
It's a
Oh, yeah. Do you hear me?
yeah, it's a cross between hard-hitting news and Monty Python's Flying Circus. So,
I've only got so many resources.
Well,
Hey,
either way, I'm glad to be here this morning. How
hey,
are
good
y'all?
to see you on this. A little damp this morning. You're under the cover, so that's good. Keeps you a little on the drier side, which is always helpful when we're talking about plants to be able to do so. Fortunately, it's not a downpour today, so folks.
No, it's not actually. It's kind of lit up out here. It's not even raining at the moment, so,
So
we're doing all right.
It's nothing that a rain jacket or perhaps an umbrella won't take care of. So don't hesitate to come on out. What do you got to show us today? I see something red over your shoulder there, which
You
is
see what?
something red over your shoulder there. That has my
Oh yeah.
yeah. Tell us about
You want
that.
to talk about that first?
Let's do that first. Yeah,
Okay.
that's an old time plant right there.
No, this one
Yeah,
is
this
new.
is old school.
No,
David, you know all about these. Red tip Photinia.
well, let's
There
be
it is. Look at that.
yeah, let's be straight now. It's a new Photinia called Red Dynamo. So it's not
It
the old
is.
Photinia that we knew from years ago.
Okay, so
No.
guys, tell us what the differences are between this and the plant that we all know and love on some level.
Well,
Well, one thing we do all know about Photinia is it's disease prone. We all kind of know that it can get some spotty leaves. If you're not careful, this one is supposed to be pretty resistant to that. Brent told me that, and I'm going to take his word on it. But one thing we do all love about Photinia is the new growth, which is brilliant red, and then also the white blooms that follow that here. Actually, they're blooming around town, or just about starting to bloom around town. This is, like he said, it's called Red Dynamo, and it's supposed to have really good disease resistance. It's only supposed to get, the tag only claims about 7 to 10 feet tall and wide. I would assume if you never ever cut it, it would probably get bigger than that. What do you think, Brent?
I agree with you. It probably would get a little bit bigger. But, you know, David was saying that Photinia only are good in single plants. And, you know, where we see a lot of Photinia around town is the single plants is because the old ones died. So it leaves one plant. And but this plant, you know, with the disease and pest resistance that is bred into this, it's a great new find. The red is much brighter than
It is indeed a much more vivid, intense color of red.
Yeah.
Many of them that you see around town that have survived the leaf spot issues are really just slightly tinged with crimson color. They're very, very pale compared to that. So that's a much more intense red. I am looking forward to seeing this one out in the landscape and really see how it performs in multiples. So
maybe we can put a hedge to your house.
maybe. We'll check. We'll check with the site supervisor
There you
on
go.
that issue there. So what else you got for us, Austin?
All right, let's go. Let's move on to a couple hydrangeas. I'm a big hydrangea guy, and these are pretty cool. So we got one here called the Outer Banks. Seaside Serenade is the new collection that they're coming out with, and this one is a lace cap style bloom. Y'all see that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
The camera's
go.
wanting to track on you, but you're
Yeah.
doing a good job. There you go.
Do you blame
You
the
see the
camera?
lace cap style blooms? These are much different. They're not round balls like we think of with hydrangeas. These are much more lace cap. They're kind of open, but it's got blue color. And it is going to depend on your pH, just like all hydrangeas. They're lower the pH is going to be blue, higher the pH is going to be pink. But this one is really nice, really good color, and it's a whole new collection.
There we go.
There, sorry.
Okay, that's I hate it when that happens.
I do too.
All right. So what's your other hydrangea?
This one here, the Seaside Serenade, the Hamptons hydrangea. This one is characterized by a nice tighter growing habit, and it also has purplish foliage on the new growth. If y'all can see that, there's not a lot that do that.
Yep.
So also too, this one claims that it can take some more of that kind of summer heat and a little bit of summer sun without wilting so much, like a lot of macrophylla hydrangeas tend to want to do.
The turgor
So-
pressure issue is one of those that goes on. I think that one, because it has a smaller foliage on it, is better and more adept at being able to support that and doesn't transpire so much that makes it wilt. It makes it appear to be dry when in fact it's not. It's just heat stress.
Exactly. Yeah, the leaves just have a tighter. They're just a more rigid leaf to them. I've just noticed them out here on the nursery watching them. And yeah, you're right. They just don't tend to flop near as bad as some of the other big leaf ones do. So cool little plant.
Yeah, the one thing about the multiple things about Seaside Serenade collection is that they're bred for more compactness. And, in the new construction that we have less landscape space, so
Right.
having plants that stay compact that have a lot of benefits to them, and the Seaside Serenade collection. Generally, most of the varieties are only going to grow in the 3 to 4 foot range. Some of them are continuous blooming, or not necessarily continuous blooming, but the flower goes through many fades, so it hangs onto the plant a lot longer. And some of the varieties like Cape Lookout is a beautiful white, and the flower is so thick it doesn't rebloom, but the flower stays on the plant for so long. The Hamptons that you have here. That new growth with that burgundy, that is a repeat blooming plant, and it's a triploid hydrangea, which means it has a shorter node between the leaves. So when it reblooms, it can rebloom quicker than other varieties of reblooming hydrangeas.
Not to be confused with the notorious diploids.
Yeah, the dumb ones maybe. I don't know.
All right, so what else you got there, Austin?
All right, while we're on hydrangeas, let's switch species. Let's go over to some an arborescens type hydrangea.
Great plant.
The most famous we all know, is probably just the classic Annabelle hydrangea. Well, this is a new variety that's a little bit better than that. And you can see, the thing we hate the most about Annabelle hydrangeas, we all know, is that when they'll be full bloom and then we get this, windstorm or rainstorm, they'll all flop over and lay down on the ground.
Absolutely.
Highly annoying. We all hate that. So what do? We try to breed, plants with stronger, sturdier stems. And I think that's what they've done with this plant. I don't know if you can see this or not, but
It's very dense and compact.
It's very dense and compact first, but also that is a fat stem. That came from the roots. That was not an old growth stem. That right there is chunky for a hydrangea. So what you're going to get is a nice compact plant with these beautiful big white round blooms in the late spring into summer, and they're going to hold up. They're not going to flop on you. This has been a really good plant. We sell a lot of them, and it's an upgrade from Annabelle, if you ask me.
So, and that name again on that one is?
This one is
Bar Harbor.
This one is it's a Seaside Serenade collection as well, but it's a Bar Harbor.
Or as they
Bar
say in
Harbor
New England,
hydrangea.
Bahaba.
Bahaba,
Yeah.
Bahaba.
That's right.
So
But
one thing
you
about
can
that
just
plant
see, it's tight.
One thing you'll see about that plant, the first years in the landscape, the bloom will be a little smaller, but what it's trying to do, it's trying to get its feet comfortable.
Established, right.
It wants to get established, but once the plant gets established in year 2 and 3, the blooms are going to be as big as Annabelle, but most importantly, when that bloom gets large, it's going to be on a smaller stature plant in the 4 to 5 foot range, and it's not going to flop. The plant will support itself. So, and these can be cut back at any time. Unlike macrophylla hydrangeas, if you cut those too late in the season, you're going to cut off the first blooms of the next year. These can be pruned very easily, and if they get too large for you, you can do a hard prune on it, and it's going to stay very.
What I try to do at my house on them is cut them really hard at the outset of the season and force those basal breaks out on it where that you get better stems. Now, I only have conventional Annabelle. So the frustrations you talked about, Austin, are real in that, if you get them loaded down with water and have any amount of wind when they're in full bloom, the stems are very prone to break off. That can be mitigated by severe pruning. A lot of people just don't want to do that, and this gets you around having to do that. The necessity for it is not as strong. The other good distinction about hydrangeas like this is that they're very much a sun plant, where that your macrophyllas, your garden type hydrangeas, really need shade in the afternoon hours during the hottest part of the day. These love the full sun.
Yeah, they do. They bloom best in the full sun. They may sun wilt on you whenever they're a little young. That does happen. They really need to kind of latch in and tap into some groundwater down below, and they'll handle that full sun, and they'll give you your best white blooms for sure.
All right, take us on down the line. What you got next?
All right. Let's see. I know last week I talked all about roses. I'm going to go ahead and get Monrovia's Big 3 up now. And these are a couple different series that they're coming out with. And this one is the Grace and Grit. This is a bicolored rose right here.
My favorite.
Hence the name, Grace and Grit. They're going to be, lovely and pretty, but they're also going to be nice and tough and disease resistant for you. So we got 2 here. This one's just the straight red, which is an actual red. Comparative to knockouts where, the knockout red rose is not actually red to me. It's still more of that pink scale, whereas this is an actual true red that blooms similar to a knockout. It really has a lot of color through a lot of time, and then this one's the bicolored one like I was talking about. It's got the pink and the white all mixed together, and this one's really just grown for those lovely double blooms that we all love. And then at the end here, we've got their coral. If you're into softer colors, softer palette, this coral right here is a really graceful, pretty rose. And that's a different series. That's the Nitty Gritty peach rose right there.
I like that one a lot. That's a beauty.
That is
Yeah,
spectacular.
it really is. That's a pretty one. Tight in buds. Still has a ton of buds back behind it, going to bloom. And the first ones I talked about are going to be more of a full-size type rose, kind of in that 4 to 5 foot tall range, tall and wide. And then this one's more of a shrub rose, going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit, tighter to the ground, a little bit fuller grower. So some good roses. Monrovia's coming out with some good colors. We got plenty more of them.
All right.
So in
Moving
that Grace and Grit series, you'll also get a pink and a yellow, and the yellow is fragrant. So that's
wonderful.
quite nice. It's a single flower, but having a yellow rose that's fragrant, quite spectacular. And one thing you'll see with the Grace and Grit series is those are continuous bloomers. So you don't really go through these cycles where there's not a lot of color on it.
They pretty much have it some all along.
All the time, yeah. And you can take hard prunes on those to keep those small. If you want to keep them in the 3 foot range, do a hard prune on it early spring. Keep it nice and tight. But 4 to 5 foot is really the max height on that. So it's nice for the small landscapes.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good in mass as well. Use roses with these roses in a lot of them. 3 maybe in a triangle type pattern really makes a nice effect. A lot of color.
Yeah, what is it about 3s, 5s, 7s? What that
Odd numbers, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why we do that, but it looks better.
It does.
Yeah, you don't want 4.
It doesn't look right.
They don't.
No.
They're just a box.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
you don't need 4 corners. You need to have, it just doesn't. It looks too symmetrical.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Sometimes straight lines can be used in a landscape well, I think, but trying to create curves, I think, is also something we ought to do more than what we do.
I
Straight
like
lines out in
curves.
front of your home with shrubs, doesn't do it for me.
Correct.
What else you got there, sir?
All right, let's move on to, how about viburnum? David, I think you're a fan of viburnum, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
What an excellent plant right here. My God, this is This is Viburnum plicatum. It's called popcorn viburnum. And hence the name plicatum. I believe that translates to pleated,
Yes.
which means the leaves like this, they kind of have a pleat look to them. But look at all these blooms.
Yeah,
My
they're
Lord.
much smaller flower size, but many, many more of them. So it really, you get the great contrast between the foliage and the flower, where many times when they bloom, it completely lose the foliage in the profusion of flowers. So that really gives you a nice alternate look, and the blooms are beautiful, but they accent the really interesting foliage on the viburnum.
Yeah, for sure. And these blooms are not done growing yet. They're still at their very adolescent stage. So they're going to swell out more, and they're also going to whiten up on you. So hence the name popcorn. Yeah, they are a little smaller, but there is a lot of them. This plant can get pretty large, and it's also very shade tolerant. It can handle full sun for sure all day long. But this plant will still bloom in some not, I wouldn't say deep heavy shade, but at least a little bit of shade. It's very much so a woodland garden type plant. You can see this plant getting up into that 8 to 10 foot range pretty quickly. It's a fast grower. But just really well adapted to almost any soil you throw at it. Put it anywhere, and it for sure is going to grow. And also, too, I wanted to mention, let's not get this confused with hydrangeas. We think of hydrangeas as big white balls, but this is actually viburnum, and we get this question all the time out here. The ones that are blooming white in the spring, the early spring, are the viburnums, not the hydrangeas. Yeah. So the one we think of the most is probably just our regular eastern snowball bush, which they're blooming around town right now. They get very large. Right. I pass one going home every day that's about 20 foot tall.
And that, of course, is a viburnum. That, of course, is a viburnum. The people who don't know that a snowball, the one everyone calls an eastern snowball, is in fact a viburnum. So
it is. Yes, it's not a hydrangea at all. So let's get that clear. But definitely worth a grow. Y'all get a viburnum in the yard somewhere because this is really pretty fantastic. And gotta love the white.
All right, Austin, you got anything else for us? We're gonna wrap it up here and move back into.
Wrap it up, okay.
Have you got anything else to show us? Or you want to close it? Any final thoughts?
Anything new? I don't have anything new, but I did want to at least just feature this tree right here. This isn't new. This is a Ryerson Japanese maple. It has got a cascading effect. It fits a small spot. Hoping y'all can get that. Just a fantastic looking plant right now. I thought I'd throw it in just because Monrovia offers this. Other growers offer it as well. But if you got a small spot, need a Japanese maple that doesn't get too tall, stays tidy, this is one for you. So I think it's worth a grow as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the green leaf cultivars of
Yeah.
Japanese maple personally. We've got a couple of them here in the studio with us as well. So, there it is indeed a lovely plant. And Austin, thank you as always for the hard-hitting and impactful Lowen Report. We'll see you next week. Thank you much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thank
All
you.
right, Austin Lowen there, folks. So glad to have him in today. And Austin, of course, is always a wealth of information.
That he is.
Yes, Michael, you got a question out there?
No. Yeah, we do have a question, actually. It's
Okay.
from Cindy. And she says, in the spirit of Earth Day, my recycler only takes plastics 1 to 4. Most nursery containers are higher. Are there any programs to return or reuse locally, or do growers switch to should growers switch to a more recyclable container?
Well, the nursery containers are reused quite a lot and are also recycled quite a lot. I mean, we collect them back here. We have now Monrovia only uses new containers.
Only new. We do not recycle our
And
containers.
there's a good reason for that, because that there are pathogens that can develop along the way, and Monrovia ships them coast to coast. So you don't want to be once it has landed somewhere else and it picks up possibly some pathogen or some other pest and transport it back to another location. So from a cultural standpoint, Monrovia is unable to do that. However, I do know that there are plastic recyclers in the industry that buy the containers back, they chip them up and reuse it. And most of the nursery containers are a 1, I believe.
I believe so.
Yep.
So one thing, I just misspoke. I said we do not recycle containers. We do not reuse containers, but at our nurseries, we do recycle our containers
But they haven't been off site, though.
They have not been off site. Exactly.
Right.
But any of the plastic that is at our nurseries goes to a recycler. And on the East Coast here, there's a major recycler out of Michigan that will take nursery containers and all the plastics that come out of the nursery industry.
Plastic films for the greenhouse covers.
Greenhouse
and all.
coverings,
Yeah,
yes.
right.
So and actually they make railroad ties out of the plastic, so they're reused and into different. They're not actually railroad ties that the railroad goes on,
But they're for landscape
ties. So let's call them
Yeah.
landscape
Well,
ties.
I would rather use those than I would those creosote-laden,
I agree.
carcinogenic
Yeah.
sticks of I hate them.
Yeah, they're heavy, too.
They're heavy,
man.
and the creosote will burn you badly.
Yeah, and they're easy to drill through.
Oh, yeah. So, all right, 615-499-6690. That's how you reach us here at the At Home Show. If you've got a question or you want to leave a voicemail or a text, either one.
Pictures. You can send pictures.
You can send pictures if you like, and we'd be happy to show those out there if you've got a question about something you've got going on. Okay, we've talked about all the things on the outside part with regard to what Austin's showing. We've looked at the shrub roses, which there are some great introductions by Monrovia out this year. Let's talk a little bit about not the creaking door, but
now, David, number one rule is you don't bring up the mistakes.
that's
People
not a
don't hear
mistake.
it.
That's intentional. That's a sound effect that we bring to you direct here from the At Home Show.
Could be a Halloween show.
Let's talk a little bit more. I think the inference was that I was somehow giving bad publicity to Photinia. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, I thought you were suggesting that perhaps I only believe that they could be used singularly, and with the conventional varieties, just the Fraserei, which is the one that's been used for years, the Red Dynamo is hopefully going to be the one that's the exception to that. Now, one thing that was not available back in the 70s and 80s, when I would say that Photinia were at their zenith, was the ability to be able to do things like tissue culture and those kind of things to isolate and rapidly reproduce a selection that gives you the better qualities. And certainly Red Dynamo is a result of that, is it not?
I believe it is. Yes. It's amazing the invention. The technology has come so far. We think about computers and technology, but the technology that is going through the plant industry to bring better, improved varieties to make sure the consumer has more success with their plants.
And things that are also manageable. You know, there's a lot of concern with folks about things being invasive, and certainly we don't want to be putting things out there that can endanger the natural landscape. That's not to say that everything needs to be a native, but there's a place for them in every landscape. But certainly having other things that give you a variety of color and flower that you wouldn't have otherwise are great. And being able to manage them and keep them within bounds of where you intend them to be is another great attribute. So certainly the things we've got to show today are all examples of that. So I think it's time for a plant rant.
Plant rant. I got one for this too. You want to hear
All
it?
right, let's go.
Sometimes she just needs to vent. It's Plant Rants with Cary Grant. I didn't know what else to do.
It's Gant.
Grant.
It's Gant.
Sorry.
I loved it though.
I'll redo it. I'll redo
Let's fix
it.
that last name. It's all right. I've gotten it my
I'm
whole
sorry,
life.
Cary. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I recorded it at 11 o'clock last night. So
Oh, you were up late.
Yeah.
Burning the midnight oil, if you will.
Yes.
It's very rock and roll though, so
so
I'm
she's-
all about
Well,
it.
you seem like you're rock and roll.
A
So.
little bit, yeah.
All
do
right, well,
enjoy
you've
it.
got a whole plethora of examples from Monrovia.
Yes, I do.
There
I'm
in
sitting
front.
amongst a
And
garden.
I'm just going to kind of pitch it to Brent and let him kind of interrogate you.
All right,
Or,
I'm ready.
or perhaps you can just drag something out there and let him comment on it, which might be the better way to do it.
Either way, why don't we start with the Sunbelievable sunflowers? Because I know Brent was really excited about those, and they're selling really well here at Bates Nursery. So
that plant sells great wherever it is. It is a brand new repeat blooming sunflower that will produce 1,000 blooms over the course of a year.
I did not know that.
Yes,
1,000.
1,000. So one plant.
He has counted them on most every plant they have there. But you see all the buds and blooms that are on there right now, a lot.
Yeah.
So you see those buds, and the reason it blooms 1,000 blooms is each flower, normally a sunflower, that black center there is going to produce, it's going to have seeds. Well, this is a sterile variety, so there's not going to be any seeds that are going to be produced. So it's going to, all the energy that would normally go into producing the seeds goes into producing more buds. So there's tons of buds that are in the plant ready to come out. So when that flower is done, it self-cleans itself, which means it falls off,
Right.
and a new flower replaces it. And so it's just continuous blooming. It gets around 24 to 30 inches tall, 3 feet wide. Fantastic for a container, fantastic for the landscape. Mass plantings are unbelievable. So if you put 3, 5, 7, 9 tons, it just will create a statement.
Now, this is a full sun plant,
That-
obviously.
Absolutely full sun. We have seen this plant in shade. I personally have seen it in shade in my yard. I have one in full sun, or last year, one in full sun, one in partial. I recommend full sun.
Well, you lose
Yeah.
a lot of opportunity for flowers on there.
Flowers and size.
Yeah.
So it definitely grows smaller in the shade. So full sun, continuous blooming, absolutely spectacular plant. Once you have it once, you'll want to have it in your landscape every year. Like I said, also for containers, if you put that in an 18 to 24 inch container, one plant will fill that entire thing and give you a plethora of color all the way till frost. So the beautiful
Wow.
thing here in Middle Tennessee, you know, mid-October, you can have color. So, and going into fall with a sunflower is always beautiful. So.
Yes, it is.
So
This is
I
just
think it's
gorgeous.
safe to say that Brent is excited about it.
I would think so, yeah.
Well, I'm excited about it, and I think our company is excited about it too. Grow a few thousand of them. We are actually growing into the hundreds of thousands of these, and amazingly, we're sold out.
Wow. And now, are those produced at all 4 locations?
All 4 locations. So, so we'll have them. We started our first crop, I think, was middle of March, maybe beginning of March, and we will have those because it is an annual. We don't want to grow them in the fall, but we'll have them into the middle of the summer, and because people are looking to redo their landscape and add cool new things into it. But that's a winner.
Yeah, that's a
winner.
great one.
All right. What else you got
Absolutely.
for us, Cary?
You know, one other thing that we were talking about, Brent and I, when we took our walk around Bates, was this Texas Red Yucca.
Yes.
And you were telling me all about it, how the blooms will follow the sun, kind of like a sundial. So we were able to find one with some buds coming out. I don't know if, Tyler, you can get that close up to see it, but we'll go ahead and just show off this beautiful plant. I love yuccas.
Yeah, this is a Hesperilla, so it's not a traditional yucca.
So it's not a Hesperallo, it's a Hesperilla?
That's I could be saying it wrong.
I think it's Hesperallo is what it is. But
Hesperilla.
yes.
But you see the red spike that was that's coming up there. That will get around 2.5 to 3 feet tall, and as the sun moves, the flower will move with the sun. So if you have a bed of them in a mass planting where you have multiple flower spikes, and you can see there's multiple spikes in that one plant there. So that will move with the sun and is very cool.
And this is another one of those plants that really lends itself well to being planted in groups because it's very thinly foliated. The foliage doesn't jump out at you and really make a huge statement. By putting more of them in a close proximity, you get a better mass effect and you get a lot more flowers up there.
Absolutely. Yes. So this is considered a red yucca. There's also yellow in this variety. Traditionally, we're used to yuccas with wider blade and a white flower. But this is a much smaller flower, more delicate, but absolutely spectacular. And one of the things about this, it's extremely drought tolerant and it loves hot, dry areas. So.
Oh, I have quite a few at my house, and actually I pair them with sunflowers because I like that kind of southwestern look and then that lovely yellow pop.
There you go.
Yeah, so fancy.
Yes.
What else you got over there, Cary?
Well, so many things. I'm amongst so many beautiful plants. Let's go ahead and move over to the peony. Can you guys see this on the...
Yes, we can. And of course, that is the Ito peony.
Yes, it is, which we talked about just a few weeks ago.
Well, we also talked about it on the program here just a few minutes ago. It's featured right on the very front page of Monrovia's website at monrovia.com. But you can see the Ito peonies there. Now, that's one of those items we talked about the need. If you see something that you want, you better grab it. There's nothing that's more applicable to than the Ito peonies because they're coming into flower right now. They're going to probably be gone this weekend. Even with less than wonderful weather conditions, they're really coming out. They're spectacular. And there's absolutely no downside to Ito peonies. They're a cross between tree peonies and an herbaceous peony.
Correct.
And because of that, what our good friend Nicholas Stadden told us a couple of weeks ago, because he in the development days worked for Monrovia and was very much into the whole process of dealing with Mrs. Ito and because the developer of the Ito peonies never got a flower. And this is another case where tissue cultures came into play, where it enables the hybridizers to do many more iterations and many more crosses and see a result come out of them at a much faster turnaround. So consequently, all of the named varieties, and I'm sure you know them all.
All of them off the top of my head.
Every single one.
So this particular one is Keiko, and you can see the number of buds that are on that plant. So this is just
that is
started.
Keiko, not CAKE-O, right? It's not Cake-O, it's Keiko.
Well, right now I'm a little hungry, so it might be Keiko.
Think about cakes.
You're right. A little frosting there. The flower is the frosting. So you can see the bud size on that at the very top of the plant there. They're just massive. And so that particular plant probably has 15 buds on it still to
Cary,
open up.
can you put your hand right there underneath those flowers there so that we can kind of, so that he can get an idea of how large those flowers are. They are really... They even dwarf your hand. They're so big.
I know.
So.
Well, I already have tiny hands, so
It's like a salad plate flower.
It is like a salad plate flower.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and this one, I'm going to turn it around because it does have so many buds on it, like Brent was saying.
It's not just one side. They're all the way around.
All the way
and you
around.
see the buds sticking up on top. So that is going to be an absolutely outstanding plant. It will have a home somewhere else before the day's out.
Oh, absolutely. I just bought one for myself that I planted on
I
Monday.
encouraged Mrs. Bates that we needed to have one at our house, so she bought one this week as well.
Fantastic.
She did? What kind did she get?
I don't know. It was dark.
You'll find out when it blooms.
Yeah, you'll see it when that color pops out.
I spend a lot of dark hours at my home. I tend to be gone before the sun comes up and often don't get back until after it's gone down. So it's all a surprise to me.
Flowers.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on.
Before we go on, one thing about the Ito peonies is that this is where you can get a yellow peony. yellow peonies are traditionally only in tree peonies.
Right.
And tree peonies by themselves are not the most pretty plants. But they have beautiful flowers. So
Right.
the Ito, with being a cross between a tree peony and a herbaceous peony, will give you this compactness, but you can also get a yellow one. And we have a few different yellows, Bartzella.
That's what I got.
Canary. We'll just call it Canary. But it will get you where you're going. But you can also get lavenders in this. You can get white with a nice burgundy center to it. So there's a plethora of colors that you can get, and they all have big blooms on it, and some are more double in singles.
And the biggest single attribute that they have is that they never, ever, ever require staking or support. They
Never.
are. That's the biggest problem with herbaceous peonies, is that they really flop. They have very weak stems, so they use a lot of these grow through supports. You don't need those ever with Ito peonies. They very strong stems. They support their own weight really well, and they don't have the foliar disease problems that the herbaceous ones do as well. So they are one of the plants. Sometimes things in life come along that are a little overhyped. Ito peony is not one of those.
You will not be disappointed.
Nope. Absolutely not. Now that said, it's not a cheap plant. How much is that one?
I believe these are $109.99.
Yeah, now you say $100
right.
plus for a plant. Well, it's a tremendous investment in your garden, and it will.
I've never met anybody who's regretted the purchase.
No,
I can't imagine regretting this.
No.
Just gorgeous.
All right.
Beautiful. All right. So moving on to our next one. This one was exciting too, that Brent and I were talking about in our garden center. So it's a tropical. It's not going to come back every year, but we have the Burgundy Queen Bougainvillea right here.
That is, yes.
Very
that is a
exciting.
brand new plant.
I'm going to tip it so you can see those blooms on the top.
Yeah, it's a great annual here. If you're say in Texas or in the southern Florida, southern California, maybe some of the desert Southwest areas, bougainvilleas will live as a perennial there. Not the case here, but they're still a worthwhile purchase because you get such wonderful flowers and growth on them. And if you are willing to do a little carting indoors with them in a container, you can winter them over.
You can, absolutely. What's really cool about this plant is that we found this. Actually, not we. Our grower in Georgia actually found this plant as a sport off of Purple Queen. So he found it a couple years ago. He did some propagation to make sure that it was going to stay stable, and lo and behold, it did. So Tracy is very excited that this is his introduction. With that new burgundy foliage, also that's something that you don't get on bougainvillea, is that burgundy new growth to it.
Absolutely stunning. What a great! It almost looks like flowers themselves because of the color of the foliage. So it really adds a lot of interest to an already interesting plant.
Absolutely. And as the season gets warmer, that plant currently only has a few flowers or bracts. It's actually a leaf that's kind of changed.
Modified leaf, right?
Yes. So that will be much more prolific in flower color.
It's a flower in much the way that a poinsettia is in flower. Those are in fact bracts, modified leaves. So that's your little horticultural lesson for today.
Yes.
And those
I hope you're
cool
taking
plants.
notes at home.
Got that notebook out. All
Okay,
right.
keep it moving here.
Keep it going.
Yeah, because we're running
I'm
out of
gonna
time.
oh no, we've got this ruffled red echeveria, which is kind of more of my, what I know about those succulents, cacti that we talked about last week. So I was really excited when these came off the truck with Monrovia. Can you see that red tip?
Absolutely.
So this is going to be another one. You're not going to want to plant it in your yard because it's going to die real quickly when it starts to get cold outside.
Hey, while you're holding that up there, Cary, let's talk, Brent, for just a moment about see the tag that is on there. And that's one thing that's great about Monrovia tags. You have these wonderful info labels that give you all manner of information about the care, cultivation, and use of the plant. And that's not just with this echeveria. That's true with all the plants that Monrovia sells.
So yeah, we find it very important to make sure that all our plants are tagged and they have the information to give the consumer or any gardener the information they need to be successful to plant their plants.
And if you want a copy of that information, take your phone out and take pictures of it. Please don't steal the tag. Whoever is going to buy that plant will want to have that tag. And if you want it to have the tag physically, just you get to buy the tag and the plant comes with it.
So can I make a public service request?
Certainly.
You say about tags. as you bring your children to the garden center, I think it's very important to take your kids to the garden center, expose them to plants.
They need to know about them. They need to understand.
Please don't let them take the tags out of plants.
No, it makes our job so hard.
It's so hard. And then the person who buys the plant doesn't have the information when they go home. There's numerous times through the years. I've been in this business a long time, not as long as David. Did we bring that up again? Okay.
Yeah, so, I'm sure it's just an error.
So, but we see this happen quite a bit. So
yeah, and if we can't see the bloom a lot of times, we can't tell exactly what it is. And somebody will want to buy something. It says we have like 2 in inventory, but we're just not sure. So yeah, good service announcement, Brent.
Yeah.
So anyway, keep your smartphone with you. And if you want that information, you can either go to Brent's phone that's always making noise, or you can use that phone to take a photograph of the information that's on that tag. And there's QR codes on many of them that will actually take you to the Monrovia website that will give you complete information. So all that is out there at monrovia.com. All right, what else you got, Cary?
Okay, so I've got a few more tropicals on my left, things that aren't going to overwinter outside. We've got the rock and roll Peruvian lily.
That is rock and rolling.
It is so rock and roll, just like my opening song. So I'm gonna turn it around here. Unfortunately, we don't have one that's in full bloom right now, but you can see the buds. It's got a nice red color. But that variegation on the leaves is gorgeous in itself. So it really doesn't
and
need
I think
a flower.
it's an often overlooked attribute of many plants that have great variegation and other mottled looking foliage is that they add a lot of interest even when they're not in flower. So it really brightens up a spot in the house. Now, is that I would guess that to be a pretty highlight plant. Is that correct?
That is definitely best in full sun.
Yeah.
You can get it in a protected area. You may be able to get it to come back from year to year. It is a zone 8 plant, but in microclimates, if you're more in an urban environment and you mulch well for the winter, there's a possibility that you could get it to come back.
So if you've got a little protected spot that gets a lot of sun, probably like on the southwest, like an inset of the house, where that it's, and then maybe be able to mulch and build a small greenhouse over it.
Yes.
No. If you do all that, not the greenhouse part, but you should. There's a chance that you could get that to winter over, so that'd be cool without having to bring it in, because there's only so much you can bring inside during the winter months.
I might have to take a chance with this and see if I can get it to come back.
So when those first come out, they also look like hosta. The way that the new foliage starts to
I can see that,
up.
how it's low to the ground down here with the new growth.
Yep. And the other thing, if that plant happens to get too big and splits at some point during the summer, just pull those broken stems out, and then it will shoot new growth right out of the center, and it will fill itself back in. Very fast growing, prolific bloomer. This particular one, rock and roll, is it's just cool.
It is cool. I remember when they came off the truck. Again, I was very excited to see those.
Cary's one of those who's a truck charger. You know, when the trucks, Monrovia trucks come in,
I want to see those new plants.
Where'd Cary go? The truck's coming in. She wants to see what's on there.
And I get a good workout, getting all those plants off.
There you go.
Get to see pretty things, get to work out, get to hit my mic and hurt everybody's ears. Okay, and so we're going to move on to the Jazzy Jewel hibiscus I have here. It's so jazzy. But unfortunately, it's not blooming right now. We tried to find one that might be opening by the time Saturday rolled around, but we've just got one bud.
But look what gorgeous foliage that has, even without flowers on it. It's really outstanding. They look like they have been leaf polished. They're so glossy looking.
That is natural.
I do have
absolutely natural.
The tag the lovely Monrovia tag that we were talking about earlier, where you can see what the bloom's going to look like when she does open. So white with a nice red center.
Again, that's a full sun plant. You're going to need to have as much highlight situation as possible on that. All right, we're about up against it. Anything else you got over there, Cary?
There's still so many things. We've got this Jurassic gold fern, which I hadn't seen before until Brent and I took our walk around the greenhouse. That I just love ferns. They add a great accent to a shade garden or a partial sun. So I just wanted to touch on that. And then, Brent, do you have anything else you see on this table that you want to talk about?
So the heuchera in the center, the coral bell, the red one, which one is that?
The forever red.
That's forever red. The red heucheras, the one to the left of it is Midnight Rose.
Midnight Rose is popular. She's cool.
Yeah, I just planted one of those.
Yeah, it's great variety. The Midnight Rose has a nice speckling in it, but we're used to heucheras that have that dark burgundy foliage to it. But the Forever Red, this new foliage, it just complements gardens very well. Partial shaded area. They are staying more compact, and they don't get the huge flowers that the old heucheras got that were maybe 2 feet tall. The flowers are just coming up just above the plant, nice pink or white, and beautiful contrast. Look at that Forever Red next to that Sunbelievable.
And I particularly
gorgeous.
love the color of the foliage because, like my point I was making earlier, so many times in the landscape, you get great color that does not come from flowers. It comes from foliage.
Right.
And heucheras are always a great example of the variety of color you can get within a single species of plants, all these different cultivars that give you so many different looks. And heuchera are, of course, one of those groups that represent that really well.
So many different kinds.
All right, well, Cary, thank you for coming on. And
Yes,
Cary
thank you.
Gant, that is.
That's right.
By next week, we're going to change her name back to Gant.
I'll be listening next
All
week.
right. So thanks for being on today, and we appreciate you collecting things together and presenting them well
Absolutely.
for us here on the At Home Show every Saturday, right here from the Green Room at Bates Nursery. Let's want to talk just a moment about Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and of course that's kind of the reason we're here. We do a lot of things here, and one of the things we do particularly well is Monrovia plants. We carry what I believe to be the largest selection of Monrovia plants anywhere in Middle Tennessee, perhaps further out than that. Correct. And what you're going to get is a complete selection of everything that Monrovia grows, from the tropicals like you just saw with Cary, to Japanese maples that you saw with Austin, to all the other new introductions and things of color and interest in your garden. Monrovia grows the complete line A to Z, and we do our best to carry all of those things and bring them to you for use in your garden. So take pictures and photographs of your landscape, bring those with you. Probably better to do that either early on Saturday mornings
Today's a great day.
or do it during the week. Weekends tend to be really busy, so if you wait until the weather's wonderful, chances are we don't have the time to spend with you like we'd like to. So come in during the week when we're not quite as busy and bring your photographs of your landscape situation. We'll help you to select the right Monrovia plants and get them in the right place the first time, because that's the way we do it here at Bates Nursery. We're open Monday through Saturday, 9 until 4 p.m., noon to 4 on Sunday. Check us out at batesnursery.com, where our entire inventory is searchable and purchasable. You can get curbside service or arrange for delivery online. So check that out at batesnursery.com. Beautifying Nashville since 1932, Bates Nursery and Garden Center, and that day.
Thanks for
Brent,
having me.
thank you for being here today. We want to always appreciate everything you do for us here at Bates Nursery, and thanks to Austin Lowen and Cary Gant, Michael Stevenson, Tyler Blankenship. Thank you guys as well, and thank all of you for tuning in this week. We'll be here again next week. You can replay this and watch it all weekend long or all during the week if you like. We invite you to do so.